So Resident Evil 2 Remake, how it should be remade. So we thought this would be a good video to do because Resident Evil 2 is my favourite game of all time and we are huge Resident Evil fans. And I feel like this game can be perfect, just like Resident Evil 1 Remake, if they add key things. And we're going to go over those key things that we feel they need to add. So this is in no particular order. The first thing we believe should be put back in the game is the inventory menu. If you remember in Resident Evil 1, 2 and 3 they had that classic inventory menu where you have like your health bar at the top, it says fine, caution or whatever, you have the picture of the character you're playing as, whether it was Leon, Jill, Claire, and just the whole setup of it. It was quite cozy, it was interesting. And it gave you time to sit there and think, what do I need to put away? What do I need to use? I need to really manage my items and see what I need to use. Now in Resident Evil games recently, what they've been doing, which is something I've been really annoyed about since around Resident Evil 5, it started. I think it started Resident Evil 5, because Resident Evil 4 had that, but it was in a different type of way. It was like a briefcase sort of way. But with Resident Evil 5, 6 and 7, they've had this thing where you access your inventory menu whilst the game's still playing, and that isn't something that should be put in this game at all. That is something that really did ruin Resident Evil 5, 6 and 7, because the inventory is meant to be a place for you to sort out your items and figure out what you need to use. Like, you're meant to manage your items. You can't do that whilst the game's still playing. You can't do that while an enemy's chasing you. You can't do that in a boss fight whilst, I don't know, some boss is trying to throw things at you and stuff like that. It's something that should be taken out of the game.
Now, I get why they would want to do that with the Resident Evil games. I guess it's to make you never feel safe, like you're always on edge. But, I mean, I think the old inventory system adds to the game, like it adds to the strategic part of the game. It just is something that I really loved, and I've always wanted that back, in my opinion, as I'm pretty sure many others have too.
See, it's small things like this that I really pick up on. It's one of the first things I picked up on when Resident Evil 5 came out, how the inventory was so awful. There was no effort put into it at all.
See, in Resident Evil 0, Resident Evil 1 and Remake, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3 and Code Veronica, you had this inventory menu that just no other game really had one like it. I mean, and so early on too, in the first ever Resident Evil game back in 1996, I mean, you had this inventory menu that no other game at the time had. It was so unique, it was so cool how they define and caution danger, how they did it like that. I would just love that back. And not only that, it's the inventory, like the stuff that goes into your inventory, like a pistol, ammo, books and stuff that you have to examine. I miss all of that. I mean, I absolutely loved it. Nowadays, it doesn't feel like you have time to do any of that. There was a lot of effort put into those inventory systems, and I believe this is something that should definitely return in the Resident Evil 2 Remake.
Now, the next thing is something that I feel should definitely make a return in Resident Evil 2 Remake, like 100%, and it's something I don't think they're going to do, and it's going to piss me off a lot, and it's fixed camera angles. Fixed camera angles for a game like Resident Evil 2 Remake is key. It really is key. Look at how they've done Resident Evil 1 Remake. It was done perfectly. The fixed camera angles with the pre-rendered backgrounds and stuff like that, that is what Resident Evil was all about back in the day. And whereas Resident Evil 4 was good, Resident Evil 5 was like decent and stuff like that, those first few games were really key. They were really unique looking. Nothing like they was before had ever been done like that before. You had Silent Hill, but it was done in a different way. If they bring back fixed camera angles for Resident Evil 2, I will be the happiest guy alive. And because it is a remake, I feel like this is a part that they do need to do. That added to the experience. It wouldn't feel like Resident Evil 2. It wouldn't feel like a Resident Evil 2 remake if they didn't have fixed camera angles. I'm not sure if this is a big thing for other Resident Evil fans, but for me, fixed camera angles have been a problem and something I've wanted to return for fuck knows how long. Since Resident Evil 4. I've wanted it to return since Resident Evil 4. So fixed camera angles with Resident Evil 2 Remake is a must, just like it was with Resident Evil 1 Remake, and hopefully in the future Resident Evil 3 as well. Next up, no co-op. This is something huge. If they add co-op, the game is fucked. In my eyes, the game is fucked, and I won't buy it. I won't buy it, because co-op is going to take away from the scare factor, it's going to fuck up the storyline, as we know it currently. It's just not good. Co-op in Resident Evil games need to stay out. They really need to stay out. Resident Evil 5 was ruined because Shiva was by your side. Resident Evil 6 was... I don't even know what to say Resident Evil 6, but it was a disaster in my eyes. But the whole idea of co-op is just wrong when it comes to Resident Evil games. If it's a side game, fair enough. I'm all for that. That's cool. If it's Mercenaries, fair enough. You can do that, and they can put it in, like, I don't know, implement the Resident Evil 0 type of co-op they had. But co-op, as in, like, you have a partner next to you, like they've done with Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6, and I guess Ashley in Resident Evil 4, that needs to go from Resident Evil games, especially the story mode.
I mean, yeah, you took the words out of my mouth right there. Co-op, it just doesn't go well with Resident Evil games, especially if we're going for fixed camera angles. I mean, that wouldn't work anyway, I don't think.
Now, like I said, they could do it in the Resident Evil Zero way, but even that, it just wouldn't make sense because Leon wasn't there with Claire when she met Sherry. Like, stuff like that just doesn't make sense. And you can say, oh, well, there's not an official storyline for Resident Evil 2 yet because everything, they've taken bits from Leon A, Leon B, Claire A, Claire B, but that's just something I feel wasn't there. Like, Claire met Sherry whilst Leon met Ada and stuff like that. I feel like that actually happened. And when you're playing Resident Evil 2 co-op, that would, like I said, completely take away from the scare factor because you have a partner with you. You're meant to feel helpless in Resident Evil games, in early Resident Evil games especially, and that you wouldn't feel helpless at all if you had a partner with you.
Now, could they implement co-op and make you feel helpless and scared? Yes, they could. They could easily do that, and even if it's over the shoulder, they could still do that. But it goes into the scenario thing where, like the storyline, it would really be a mess, in my opinion, and it wouldn't be a remake.
It wouldn't, and it would be very lazy on Capcom's end. It would be very fucking lazy on Capcom's end to just throw Claire in with you instead of doing a whole different scenario. That will prove the laziness of Capcom if they do that. So that brings us on to our next topic, Leon and Claire scenario. Now, for this, I don't feel like they should have Leon A, Leon B, Claire A, Claire B. They should just have a Leon scenario and a Claire scenario, showing what Leon done during the events of Resident Evil 2 and what Claire done during the events of Resident Evil 2. Because having 4 scenarios overall, 2 of each character, it really fucked with the storyline. Like, some things in Leon B happened, whereas some things in it didn't, and some things in Leon A happened, whereas some things didn't. So, like, something happened in Leon B, but in Leon A, like, for example, Ada dropped down from the cross-section part in the lab, and that you didn't see that in the B scenario. So you're left thinking, so was that the right scenario, or was B the right scenario? And they also show that in the one of the Wesker reports. So they've mixed it up themselves. So they're going to have to come up with a fully canon storyline and not leave the players confused. It's what they've done with Resident Evil 1 as well. So I feel like instead of wasting time making 4 scenarios, instead of with those 2 scenarios, make a mini-game. Just make some sort of mini-game. That'll be much more fun to play. Which also brings us once again onto our next topic, which is Fourth Survivor, Extreme Battle Mode, and Mercenaries. So these are modes in Resident Evil 2. Fourth Survivor is where you play as Hunk, and it is canon, so this needs to be in the game. It shows what Hunk was doing, how he retrieved the G-Virus, and how he's the last survivor of the Umbrella Soldiers. And it shows him making his way from the sewer all the way to the roof, and how he escapes the Raccoon City incident, basically. So that needs to show that. They can even expand upon that. Instead of making it like a mini game, they can make it, I don't know, like an actual scenario, I suppose. And then you had Extreme Battle Mode, which is basically like a Mercenaries type mode. It was the same structure as Fourth Survivor, the mode of Hunk, but instead you could play as Chris, Claire, Ada, or Leon. So that could be in the game, or they can change it and put an actual Mercenaries mode, very similar to the one in Resident Evil 3. I think they should do something like that. They should add these game modes in, instead of putting those extra 2 scenarios that don't really matter, to be honest. And now the Resident Evil 2 soundtrack.
The soundtracks in the older Resident Evil games were so key, and we're going to keep bringing this up, but the Resident Evil 1 remake, that game had it perfect. It basically remastered all the original game soundtrack, and they just made it, they improved it. Every track on that game was better. They made it more scary, especially when you're down in the basement. They made it more eerie and just scary, and they could do that with Resident Evil 2 Remake. Changing the soundtrack would be very odd to me. I don't know why they would want to do that. I mean, I understand why they would change the credits, the themes to the credits, but the actual soundtrack in-game, they should keep that the same, just basically remaster it.
Now, another route I feel like they may go is they may not add soundtrack at all, and I really hope they don't do that. I really hope they don't do that, because the soundtrack, believe it or not, whether if you're a Resident Evil player and it's not something you notice, it's something you notice, but you're not paying attention to really. It's at the back of your mind, but you know it adds to the mood of it. You know the main hall theme for the police station, you know it to be the main hall theme. You know the basement theme in Resident Evil 1 to be the basement theme. It sets the mood for each section of the game you're in, and I feel like it is very, very key for Resident Evil games.
A great example is when you first meet Marvin in the police station. I mean, the soundtrack there, when you meet him, it gives you that feel of, oh damn, something's gone on here, this is quite scary. They could remaster that and make it so much better. I think they should definitely just remaster the soundtrack, even add some soundtracks here and there would be cool. But taking away the soundtrack completely, or even making there be different sounds in the game, they could do it well, but I just think that as a remake it should keep it the same, just basically remaster. Just what Resident Evil Remake done basically. If you go back and play that, they should do exactly what they did with that game.
Now on to additional areas. This is something that they did in Resident Evil 1 and it worked perfectly. They added stuff like the crypt, they added the courtyard, They added a bunch of stuff. Alicia Trevor's cabin, a bunch of stuff was added in Remake that made sense, and it was done so fucking well.
Yeah, adding the additional areas in that game was so cool because it changed the game. Like, you had to get these masks, and then you fought a Crimson Head, and they added in the George Trevor stuff. They added in this whole new kind of storyline into the game,
yep,
which set the mood so perfect. It made so much sense.
So when Resident Evil 1 was released, there was very little information about the mansion and all that backstory. Then they added in the Trevor family, who, George Trevor created the mansion, created all these traps. So you got backstory on how the traps were made. You got backstory on experiments they did and stuff like that. It's very rare, I say, a remake is better than an original. But in this case, it absolutely smashed the original. It was so nostalgic. The soundtrack was done perfectly in Resident Evil 1 Remake. The additional areas was done. So that was better than the original. And I feel like if they follow this same routine with Resident Evil 2 Remake, add additional areas and make certain things make more sense, they could definitely smash the original. And that's coming from someone whose favourite game of all time was Resident Evil 2 Remake. If they do this well, if they do this with all the points I'm making now, this could be the best game of all time.
For example, with the additional areas, they could add like another room in Brian Iron's office, or make it just a bit bigger. Make there be another room in the main hall. Like, they could do so much with this. And remember, we're on the PS4, PC, and Xbox One, so they can do so much with this. Capcom can do a lot more than the original Resident Evil 2 did, and that's what we mean by they should add more. Like, we could have different things to do. Like, instead of going to get certain keys or certain jewels, they could add something else in first. Like, the game could expand. It could be a longer game, much more fun, and you could explore more.
Now onto a few smaller topics, those being enhanced Mr. X mechanics, no quick time events, and not overpowering Leon. So the first one, Mr. X. Mr. X is someone who follows you around the police station, basically, throughout the scenarios, both Claire and Leon. It's very similar to Resident Evil 3 with Nemesis chasing you, but the mechanics aren't as good with Mr. X. He's only in certain rooms. But they could add something in this game where he actually follows you around the whole police station. Sort of like Forrest in Resident Evil 1 Remake, sort of like when the zombies burst through doors in Resident Evil 1 Remake 2. They could do it in that kind of system with the fixed camera angles. And that would definitely add to the scare factor of it. Knowing that you have to solve these puzzles really quickly, otherwise Mr. X is going to come bursting in, that would be something really cool. Obviously don't overdo it. Don't make it so he can burst in every single room possible, because that would be annoying and that would be stupid. But add it in certain parts. So like in Resident Evil 3, for example, you don't know when he's going to come. But when he does come, his music plays. He has a certain soundtrack that plays and you think, fuck, I got to get out of this room now because he's coming after me. They could implement that with Mr. X, and they could do it so well and make it so scary. It's something that I feel like should be added to Resident Evil 2 Remake, something they can definitely expand upon. I guess sort of like how Jack was in Resident Evil 7, just that sort of mechanic, that would be so good.
Now with quick time events, there's nothing really much to say about this. It's just in a load of games nowadays, and I feel like, personally, when this added into games, it's like a lazy way of being able to do something. It's like a quick way of getting around something. I think that they're put in a game and it's just not needed. It's so forced nowadays. I mean, you can have quick time events where it actually means something and it's cool. I mean, Resident Evil 4 has that. It has some quick time events in that game which were done well. But I mean, there's a load of games nowadays that put it in the game and it just doesn't need to be there. I mean, it's like it's put there just because they can do it, that's just it. I mean, I feel like it doesn't need quick time events.
Now lastly, do not overpower Leon. This is something they've been doing in the animated films. They've been doing it in Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 6, literally fucking over the top. Do not add overpowered Leon to Resident Evil 2 Remake. He is a rookie cop at this point, and he doesn't know half the shit he knows in Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 6, and the rest of the movies. So if they make him do stuff like when he's dodging lasers and shit like that, and running up walls and fucking just you know what I kind of mean. If they do stuff like that in Resident Evil 2, it's not going to fit Resident Evil 2. Because Leon didn't do that shit. Leon, you felt like just a regular cop in Resident Evil 2. But if they add like the Resident Evil 6 type Leon in it, it's going to take away from it.
Yeah, it's something that has crossed my mind, that they might make this the case, just because Leon's so appealing for the way that he dodges lasers and survives helicopter crashes and stuff like that. And I am too hoping that they just keep him as the rookie cop that he was back then. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're going to, because it wouldn't make sense storyline wise for him to know all that stuff, for him to be dodging all these like lasers and stuff. I mean, it would just make no sense. And in Resident Evil 2, Leon actually gets hurt, he gets shot, which I could never see that happening in a newer Resident Evil game. I mean, he's untouchable. So I think, just to make it realistic, this shouldn't be the case. If he does do some insane shit in this game, it honestly would make no sense. It would make you think, what the fuck's going on? I mean, he's meant to be so young and he's a rookie. I mean, he's first down the job. He's meant to be kind of nervous about it and stuff. So yeah, I mean, this experience that he goes through in Raccoon City, it's what shapes him.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So that's all our points for this video. Probably a long video, but I'm so excited and I'm quite nervous for this remake because I feel like not all of this stuff is going to be implemented in the game. And it's something, all these stuff I feel need to be in the game for it to be an actual remake. Like, just like Resident Evil 1 was, it was like the perfect remake ever. So I really hope, the main things I want is I want the soundtrack perfect and I want fixed camera angles and the menu. Those three things are what made Resident Evil back in the day. That's what made it so appealing and unique. So I really hope they add those in.
Basically, what we're saying in this video is there's a reason why everyone loved the Resident Evil remake, the original game, the remake to that. And it's because they didn't change the good stuff. All they did was basically the dialogue was much more realistic. They added things that were just so cool. Like, it made sense.
Yeah, they expanded upon the game, basically.
The lighting and just everything about the mansion felt so good. They kept everything you loved the same, but added more. And that's what this remake needs with Resident Evil 2. I mean, I don't understand why they would actually change it. Why would they make it over the shoulder and co-op? To be honest, it'll make no sense. That's not why people loved the original game. And I'm pretty sure they're going to go down this route of they're going to try and make it as similar as possible. But like Morgan said, I mean, they're not going to add everything we've said in this video into the game.
So that's all of our thoughts. If you have any different opinions or just anything you want to say, anything you want added in, what you want taken out, definitely leave it in the comment section because this is a discussion. I want to see what other people think, what classic Resident Evil fans think as well. So tell us what you think down below. We hope you enjoyed this video. Leave it a like, share it around, and as always, cheers for watching.